Hi everybody, it's Annette from The Art of Intuition, and today we are going to dive into energy and its relationship with consciousness. To kind of piggyback on the video I did last week, about energy and consciousness not being the same thing and how that can get misconstrued and confusing for us. So I want to kind of piggyback on that and explore that a little bit more, and I'm back in my my room doing this because I don't have the house to myself on my normal filming days. So we are going to be in here, which means I have to add a lot of light in post because it's so doesn't get a lot of light in here. But anyway, okay, let's talk about it. Now, we talked a little bit about how energy does not equal consciousness and how you can really like someone's energy, but if their consciousness is so far apart from yours, it's very hard to create a reality that's going to have any type of enjoyment in it, because you're always going to be fighting against someone's consciousness if they're in a human consciousness, or even if they're in the 5th dimension, you're in the 10th dimension. It's not enjoyable for them, and it's not enjoyable for you. It's not enjoyable for you because they're still if they're in the 5th dimension, they're still in a floaty, everything's beautiful phase because they haven't had to anchor anything down yet and shift anything. And you might be in another space where you've had to shift so many things that you're dealing with someone in that phase is not the space you're going to create from anymore. Whereas that's the space they're going to create from. So you might enjoy their energy, but creating something consciously together isn't really possible that you're going to enjoy. Or if you're dealing with someone in a human consciousness, that's just hell on earth. And creating something with them that's going to last isn't even possible, because everything that is built is going to be built still with that human consciousness, and you're going to be just dragging them the whole way because they're not going to want to do anything in regards to ascension, because that's not what the human ego, human consciousness is going to want to do. So it'll be this battle the whole time. You're going to be battling the human consciousness the entire time, and that's not a fun reality. So, and then we had the flip that I really didn't touch on, but I kind of want to mention here before I get into the other topic about not liking someone's energy, not resonating with it, but knowing that their consciousness is a consciousness you can work with to create something. And you see this a lot. We talk a lot about galactic family. They're very different from soul family. They have a different feel to them, that we come together to create something, but we normally can't come together for long because they really don't resonate with each other. And that goes into galactic DNA, it goes into galactic wars, it goes into different galactic races fighting each other. And when you meet a galactic family member, you will know because you will enjoy and really resonate with the consciousness they bring and the insights they bring and what the space they want to create from. And you'll probably create some things with them, but long term, after that's done, you don't want to stay held up with them in a corner somewhere. You just don't resonate with their energy overall, but you resonate with the consciousness of where they're coming from. And that's kind of, to me, when I meet a galactic family member, that's kind of how I feel about them. I enjoy what they bring to the creative process and the consciousness process and helping me come into more consciousness. But I don't want to be around them. So I kind of wanted to throw that in because I felt like I touched on the other ones and I really didn't touch on that one. So energy and consciousness, how does it work? How does more energy hitting the earth? You hear about solar flares, you hear about the energy index. I'm not sure what that thing's called, but I know a lot of people track the different energies that hit the earth, and people track solar flares, and people track all these things that affect kind of the atmosphere. But how does that affect consciousness? So we talk about all this since 2012. You've had so much different energy hitting the earth. You've had more energy hitting the earth, and it's causing this explosion in consciousness. It's causing this explosion of awareness to increase. Everyone talks about energy. The energies are heavy today. The energies are this today. The energies are that today. And people do energy reports all the time, talk about what energies are, what's going on. Astrology gets into the different energies of the planets, the different energies of all that stuff. And remember, it's all inside, all the planets are inside. I did a video on that a couple months ago, so I'm not going to get too far into that here. But everything is inside. And when we talk about different energies hitting the earth, all the energies hitting the earth have a certain light quotient to them, right? And this light quotient is what it's going to turn the soul on, in a sense. It's going to turn different codes on in the body. A lot of people will go with the, codons, which is a scientific term. It kind of switches different codes on. which shifts on different consciousness codes. It starts to shift on different aspects that you can now embody. It gets you in touch with different aspects. It allows things in the body to start unraveling. Okay. Now, we always talk about divine timing. We talk about how it's not some people's time yet. That's why when you see energy reports and they talk about what's going to happen, all this energy sitting here, this is what's happening. Well, that's true for some people. It's not true for everyone on the earth because everyone's in a different place. Everyone has a different marker in their DNA. Everyone's going to be affected by energy in a different way as to which codes are getting shut on and where they are in their process. If you have a high, like normally when you talk about the highest days of the energy influxes, normally the more your consciousness, the higher your consciousness is, you feel that weeks before they even register it on the scale of the energies hitting the earth. You feel that so much more before than it's dictated, right? And it might affect you, it might not affect you. Some people it's the opposite. If you're in a human consciousness, these energies really agitate you. But if you're in a higher consciousness, they might support you. It depends on where you are. If every time you have these influx of energies, which is all the time, it possesses itself a different light code, which shifts on different things within your DNA. Unlocking your DNA, unlocking different aspects of your DNA, unlocking different consciousnesses in your DNA. And also things that are not that consciousness has to clear out. So if you're in the beginning phases, where you just might be clearing out a lot of fear. You might see a lot of people with a lot of anxiety because so much fear is coming up when all this stuff starts hitting the earth. That's why you see so many people, so many commercials for anxiety medication, because everyone is dealing with anxiety, which is just fear leaving the body, but it's related to the energy hitting the earth and the codes getting cut on in your body and how you're reacting to that. And then that opens you up to the pathways of consciousness, how we say. It opens up your consciousness, it starts opening you up, and then you continue to go down that path. But if you're not at the point yet to go down that path, you might fight that process for a long period of time and keep trying to double down on just getting it to stop. And you see a lot of people in that, just getting it to stop, getting the anxiety to stop. Heart palpitations are another thing that you'll see with a lot of these energies. They really go straight for the heart, straight for the lungs. You have the grief energy in the lungs. All this stuff is to clear out the body so you can embody in more of your soul. But the energy is the precursor to the consciousness, but they're not the same thing. Just because you have someone that is going through, everyone's getting hit by the same energy, but everyone's getting affected a different way. So depending on where their consciousness is and where their timing in their DNA is, what's going to unlock with what they're ready to unlock, what they're ready to embody, how much have they cleared already, what do they have left to clear. Now, 10, 15 years ago, the energy hitting the earth was a lot different than the energy hitting now. It's a lot different on what's going on right now and the illusions you're seeing in front of you. Your consciousness creates the illusion. Your consciousness creates your reality. That's why when you get to different levels of consciousness, your reality starts to shift. So how you see things is differently. What used to be a big deal doesn't bother you anymore. I know I was getting, my car inspected a couple months ago, and the guy that was doing it, he said, you just don't have a care in the world. He's like, everyone else comes in here so agitated, and you just don't have a care in the world. It's because when you get to a certain space in consciousness, you're not affected by the human day-to-day stuff. It doesn't bother you to that extent anymore. You see through it. You see through it. You see the illusion of it. You see why it has to happen that way. You understand that these people have to get really revved up about certain things. If they don't get really revved up about it, then they don't get to their next phase. And their next phase is what's important. What we see in front of us and why it takes so long for the physical to change is because we move so slow. The human consciousness moves so slow. It's so separated off between different identities. It's so separated off between your job, the identities you play within your life. It's separated off by your ego. It's separated off by anything you identify with. It's separated off from all those things that kind of separate you out of source consciousness. And that's why everything moves so slow. The outside world seems to go so slow. And even when people seem to get what they want, it's not how they wanted it, or it doesn't give them the high they thought they were going to get from it. It doesn't give them what they thought they were going for. It's kind of a hollow victory. Whereas when you get to consciously creating from your soul, you understand what's important for your soul, not for the human ego. Feeding the human ego is like feeding a bottomless pit. It's never going to be happy with what it gets for a long period of time. It's always going to want the next thing. It doesn't, it's just like a small child. You know, it wants that toy. Oh no, I'm bored now. I want that toy. It's like my godson. He's 7 and constantly doing something. And if he does not doing something, he's like, oh, I'm bored. I'm bored. I'm bored. And that's what our human ego always says. Okay, then that's boring. I want to go do this. Oh, that's boring. I don't want to do that anymore. Now I want to go do this. You know, I constantly want to do something else. I constantly want to move through to the next thing. And that's why your body gets exhausted over years and years and years of that. And it gets more and more disillusioned over years and years and years of that. And kind of worn down over years and years and years of that. You know, you get tired of the quest, in a sense, the quest for nothing. And that's why some people will go get fed up quicker. Some people have it encoded in their DNA. They're going to go into consciousness in a different way. They're going to go in quicker. They're going to go in sooner than you. You know, some people might have started an awakening in their 20s, and you might have started in your 60s. It was just how you planned it out, you know, how it was supposed to be. So don't get bogged down on energy reports. I think they're interesting to listen to and see what you take from it, but everyone's going to have a different take on it. It's going to affect everyone a certain way, but knowing that energy does unlock consciousness. The light codes in the energy unlock a consciousness within your body. It's what you do with that consciousness is up to you. Do you notice more if you start following the index of the different energies hitting the earth on the higher days? Because now, like I said, I don't track it. I've never tracked it. I just know that certain people I follow, they do look at it and track it. That the energy hitting now is nothing compared to, you know, and this is so off the incredibly high compared to what was going on 10, 15 years ago, you know, and it's so much. And that's why you have so much agitation on earth. You have so many people having to go through so much, and there's so much going through with all the collectives right now. So much of people standing up for things they don't think are correct. They don't feel are right. From an unconscious place, but still a conscious act to stand up for something. You know, for so many decades, humans stood for nothing. You know, everything just kind of felt like it was, we were going to let it all play out, you know. the stereotypical James Bond, you know, and what do they call it? Shoot, I can't even think of the word now. Antagonist is not the word. Villain, that's the word. I was like, what is that word? Your words change anyway, too. Some words you just don't have in your vocabulary anymore. The villains where I'm just gonna let it all go to plan, you know. I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm not gonna finish the job, you know. I'm just gonna see how that plays out. I'm gonna just go over here. I'm sure it'll be fine, you know. I'm sure this whole plan is gonna go fine. Not only am I gonna tell you my whole plan, I'm so sure it's gonna be okay. I'm gonna tell you what it is, and I'm gonna just let it all go. It's kind of the same kind of thing. You know, sometimes we're gonna be proactive in our consciousness. Sometimes we're gonna take a break. Sometimes you're gonna feel like you have to take a break. Sometimes you're gonna take a break because it's not your time yet, and you're just gonna follow the energies and kind of see how they feel for you. And like I said, someone can be in hell during certain times of different energy fluxes. Some people are going to be in magic and bliss, and it's just because of where they are in their process. It's not a hard set rule about what energies do what. It doesn't matter. You know, when Mars is retrograde, someone's going to be affected a lot more by that than someone else. If you've embodied in the energy of Mars, which is really just, I won't say fighter energy, but it is not, it's not an energy to shy away from standing in your power and going to war, in a sense, if it feels necessary to do, and more to align your realities and align what's going on with you. Not worried about everybody else, you know, in a sense of your reality. Now that doesn't mean you don't care about humanity, but there is a part of the process where you really look at your reality and what's allowed in. And what can you do to help humanity? You know, what can you offer humanity? But getting your light up, getting your consciousness, increasing your consciousness, acting from the higher consciousness, that does more for humanity than anything can do. Because we also understand that we all had to come through in very hard ways, even if we had the best teachers and we had the best guides. And I know I did. I had some of the best teachers and best guides. But when it came down to my process, I did not want to let the stuff go either. So, you know, there is a part of us that also understands that a majority of the collectives are going to have to come through this kicking and screaming. But that's kind of what's going to happen, you know, and you're seeing people come in different ways now. You're seeing a lot of people with all the, I know I did a video on the aliens and UFO stuff a couple weeks ago, and you're seeing a lot of people come through with that now, you know, really interested in that again. And that's kind of in the forefront of the news, even though it's kind of buried here and there, but still in the forefront of the news a little bit. You're seeing people open up. And it's not like we've ever seen before, even if it's just small little ways. It doesn't have to be, and it won't be in the beginning. For us, it was not in the beginning. But not everyone is in the same place. Everyone's going to be affected differently. Look what goes on with you. Look at what process you're in. Look what phase you're in. Look at what phase someone else is in. That's when we say energy and consciousness are not the same thing. Energy affects consciousness, but depending on where you are and how far you're willing to go, that affects your consciousness. And liking someone's consciousness is different than liking a person's energy, or not even liking it, but just resonating with it, you know, wanting to be around it. That's really all resonating is. It's not against the other person. It's just, do I want to be around this person? And this person want to be around me. People think it's always going to be the higher consciousness person that's going to say, I don't want to be around lower consciousness, you know. And that's not as a comparison, just to describe someone in a human aspect. It's not like there's a judgment on that. We were all there at some point ourselves. Won't want to be around someone. Why would they want to be around someone in a higher conscious? They have no desire to do that. You know, you can trust me on that. It's not a one-way thing. I've had people get so far to get away from me, I feel like they would jump out a window when I'd enter a room sometimes. They don't want to be around you. Because in a sense, your consciousness threatens the human consciousness. And they are not ready for that yet. And we have to respect that. And respect for everyone is on that journey. And I think sometimes we can take it personal. And I did for a little while. I took it personal. I'm like, I don't understand why, you know, why is it that way? So it's not just one way. It's kind of both ways. They might like your energy, but they don't want to be around that consciousness because it's going to push them into consciousness. And if that is not where they are, because you're going to find you're not going to be able to stay with someone who is at such a consciousness and they don't want to expand and they don't want to grow. You're not going to want to do that. You're just not. And we talked a little bit before about sometimes there are some people you know you're supposed to be with, you know, and help them through, guide them through. But there's a thing, they have to be open to that. You know, if they're not open to that, and that's not the understanding that everyone has, then that's not people you're going to bring through to that hands-on capacity in a sense. You know, you might do it in different ways for the collectives, but when you go to, it's all about that personal experience too. Because you know, I've always, you know, heard and I do believe it. I mean, if you can't affect one person, don't worry about 20,000 people. If you can't help shift one person or be there for one person, don't worry about everybody else. You know, if you can't connect with one person, why do you care about 50,000 people? I mean, it's the connection that matters. It's the quality of the connection, not the quantity of the connection. And I think that's a lot of what gets kind of lost nowadays in the human realities. So if you're in a place where you feel like, gee, I'm not resonating with these energy reports anymore, maybe it's time to leave them behind for a while. You know, if you're in a place where you don't resonate with someone you used to resonate with, just leave it behind for a while. Move on. It's really not leaving it behind, it's you're moving on and moving forward, because that's the toughest thing to do. Moving forward and moving on is the toughest thing you're going to do. because we really have to dissolve all of the attachment we have to those things. That's what separates us all. We are always going to be the separation across space and time. That's us. It's no one else but us. We're the ones that do that. We're the ones that cause that to happen. So be aware of that. Be aware where you're slowing yourself down. Be aware of, it's like the old Fred Flintstone car when he put his feet down to brake. Be aware of when you're braking because it's not comfortable anymore. You don't like it. I don't want to leave this home. I don't want to leave my job. I don't want to leave any of these things. And they're just things. For a majority of things, and I would say for everything, I still might have had some attachment to an identity here or there, but for the majority of things, when it was time for me to go, I was kind of ready to go. Very few things were ripped away from me where I was like, no, kicking and screaming. By the time it got to the phase where this has got to go, I was okay with it. I might have had some more to resolve with the loss of it, but you could start to see how it weighed you down, and you didn't want to be weighed down by it anymore, and it kept you kind of in one place. So, be aware of that. Be aware of that. Be aware of where you are. What's that one thing? I would always say to my universe, I know I got an issue with this. I know I got an attachment here. Just be kind to me with it. I know it's going to shift, it's going to change. Just be kind to me. Don't make this terrible. I'll do what I can to keep going on this one, or keep going down this path, but just be kind to me. Because I know this is going to be a tough one. So if you're going to have a tough one, and there's going to be a lot of tough parts of this journey, but there's some if you can identify, and it's going to change along the way, where there are some things you're like, oh, I know this is going to be rough. Like, I know letting go of this person, letting go of this identity, letting go of this moment, it's not going to be easy. Letting go of this person, it's not going to be easy. Just ask for it to, just be easy on me. I know it's got to go. I just ask you to be easy on me about it, Don't be too hard on me with it. So, okay. I think that's about everything. So, that should do it for today. Keep practicing the art of intuition.